It's like nails on a chalkboard. Hey, I am Chuck the bureaucrat, and if you've never served in the military, but you work with military folks, there's a good chance that you're doing something that bugs them without even knowing it. It all comes down to the subtle differences in the ways we refer to each other. Oh, and along the way, I found this little Easter egg about warrant officers that they are not going to like. Now, if you want to get technical about this, and you know I will, you go to Table 1-1 in the Army's Command Policy Regulation. That's AR 600-20. And I'll go over this in detail after I clear up that mistake that non-military people sometimes make. You see that title of address? You've probably heard one military person call another by that title of address. But here's the thing to notice about that usage. It's always used by a superior towards a subordinate, and the superior is usually pretty angry. General McNulty can call Colonel Thompson Colonel, but Lieutenant Colonel Schultz can't. Lieutenant Colonel Schultz can only call her Colonel Thompson. And I tell you this because I have sat through plenty of meetings where there's a vendor who keeps saying things like, "Well, Colonel, that's not the only benefit that our product offers." And they don't realize that they're starting to offend the colonel. If you're not going to call somebody by their name, just stick with sir and ma'am. Now, there are a couple things about this table that can help you communicate more effectively in military circles. For each rank, you've got a grade, a pay grade, and then your title of address. Grades give us that graduated scale of ranks, and if you want a fun and easy way to remember the ranks, try out this video. Pay grades have a one-to-one relationship with grades, and they're handy for pay management and personnel accounting and automated data situations. But you never use pay grades to describe somebody you're talking to. So you could say that Colonel Thompson is an 06 and that she has two 04s working for her, Major Carter and Major Riley. But you wouldn't call her 06 Thompson, and you wouldn't say, "I met with 04 Riley." Next, you've got the title of address. And the big thing to notice here is that the title of address spans grades. You call someone Lieutenant Smith regardless of whether they're a first lieutenant or a second lieutenant. With this spanning, you might notice that there's some people who start to take offense if you use their grade to refer to them instead of their title of address. That usually happens when someone is the junior grade associated with a title. If you keep calling him Second Lieutenant Smith instead of Lieutenant Smith, he can start to feel like you're highlighting his relative inferiority. I know, somewhere there is a specialist going, "Call him Second Lieutenant Smith to irritate him." It's okay. There's one aspect of these titles that I like to kind of take advantage of. You've heard me say that the Army wants you to start acting like a colonel as soon as you possibly can. And if you want to see what I mean by that, check out this video. Notice that the title of address for a lieutenant colonel is colonel. So whenever I'm in a meeting, I always make a point to call my lieutenant colonels colonel. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it gets them thinking the way I want them to be thinking. Now, if you're the lieutenant colonel, don't be a telephone colonel. That's when Lieutenant Colonel Schultz answers the phone. "Colonel Schultz." Remember, we're talking about the titles that other people use to refer to you. Telephone colonels get a bad reputation. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I said that there was this little Easter egg that I found about warrant officers that I imagine is causing some friction in the Army today. Back in 2017, I had this CW5 aviator working for me, and I kept calling him Chief Walker. "Hey, Chief Walker, can you come look at this with me? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chief Walker." And eventually he got fed up, but he told me that referring to a chief warrant officer as chief was disrespectful. It's like calling a sergeant Sarge or a lieutenant LT. And then he showed me that Table 1-1 out of the regulation, and sure enough, the title of address for warrant officers was Mr., Mrs., Ms. But then I'm researching this video, and I pull up the table, and I notice that it includes the word chief. You see, they updated this regulation in 2020. The version Chief Walker was showing me was from 2014. And of course that makes sense because back in 2017, it was the current regulation. And when they did the update, they were very subtle about the fact that they had changed this table. All right, so what? Well, I will guarantee you that somewhere there is a CW3 reading the riot act to some captain for calling him chief. See, the funny thing is, the captain's right, but he doesn't know it. And the CW3, if he turns to the regulation to prove himself right, is going to embarrass himself. And I'm telling you, I would pay money to watch that show. Look, military courtesy gets a lot more nuanced at this level because the consequences of conflict are so much more severe. But in a place where everybody's being nice, the smallest slight can sour a relationship. If you want to get a better understanding of how this is playing out, check out this video.